There are no more microtransactions in Battlefront 2 right now. What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to another episode of On the Topic of, and today we are going to be talking about the infamous Battlefront 2 microtransaction situation and the fact that EA has now taken the feature, if you want to call it that, out of the game entirely. So for those unfamiliar with the situation that we are talking about here, pretty much Star Wars Battlefront 2 is coming out this week. In fact, it's officially coming out today, but those with EA Access got access a little bit early, and they found out that, hey, this game is really unfair when it comes to the microtransactions. In fact, after you pay $60 for the game, you either have to play 4,528 hours to unlock all of the content, or if you didn't want to put in those 4,000 plus hours, then you could just go ahead and pay $2,100 on top of your $60 for the actual game itself. Needless to say, throughout the week, fans were absolutely outraged. I mean, on Reddit, it was just ablaze with fury. There were people that were refunding their pre-orders and showing screenshots of the conversations they were having with their tech that was helping them out. There were people that were just saying boycott EA overall. There were just so many angry people that EA simply had to do something, so they did a Reddit Ask Me Anything to try and kind of quell the situation. And let's just say that didn't quite go over so well. It just made them feel more robotic, more disconnected from the community itself, and overall that was just a huge misstep on their part. I would go so far as to say that they were hemorrhaging pre-orders. I mean, people were just bailing on this game left and right, and the reviews in fact reflected the negative impact that microtransactions were having on the game, to the point that I would say Battlefront 2 was completely and totally set up to be a complete failure. So something had to be done, and it has now been decided that they are going to remove microtransactions from the game entirely until a later date to try and figure out some other way to monetize the in-game content, which shouldn't really be happening in the first place. In an official statement put out across all of the EA social platforms, Oscar Gabrielson, I believe is how you pronounce his name, the general manager at DICE, had this to say: "As we approach the worldwide launch, it's clear that many of you feel there are still challenges in the design. We've heard the concerns about potentially giving players unfair advantages, and we've heard that this is overshadowing an otherwise great game. This was never our intention. Sorry we didn't get this right. We hear you loud and clear, so we're turning off all in-game purchases. We will now spend more time listening, adjusting, balancing, and tuning. This means that the option to purchase crystals in the game is now offline, and all progression will be earned through gameplay. The ability to purchase crystals in-game will become available at a later date, only after we've made changes to the game. We'll share more details as we work through this." And again, signed Oscar Gabrielson, general manager at DICE. This is the first step towards kind of repairing the relationship with the community. Of course, they have gotten a lot of negative press lately over there at EA because they did purchase Respawn last week. People aren't necessarily trusting that. They shut down Visceral a couple of weeks back. So overall, Electronic Arts as a whole is getting a lot of negative press, and that's really impacting their reputation within the gaming community overall. So right out of the gate, I want to be positive about this. I want to say, hey, look at that. We all bonded together and made a difference and made a change in the game that I didn't think was ever actually going to happen. And you can definitely interpret that way, and I would say that that has some truth to it. However, this overwhelmingly just feels like a smart business move on the side of EA and DICE. Next Friday at this time, it will be Black Friday, one of the best holidays of the year, baby. But next Friday kicks off the holiday shopping season, and you have a big name game coming out, and it says Star Wars across the front, and this Star Wars game is coming out at the same time that a new movie is hitting theaters. You have the perfect opportunity to make a ton of profit off of this game, and so it would make sense that if you have a negative reputation going into the release, you need to fix that in any possible way so that you can make profit. That's how it works. After the holiday season winds down, and after everyone has gone out and bought Battlefront 2 because of the changes in the microtransaction system, they will likely add back in something similar. Now, what I hope happens is that all of the loot boxes within the new version of Battlefront 2, if you want to call it that, are purely cosmetic, like you see in games like Overwatch, and I would even say Call of Duty World War II. Now, they do throw in a couple of XP bonuses there, they throw in a couple of different kinds of things, but overwhelmingly, nothing that directly impacts the gameplay. That's the key here. Nothing that impacts gameplay should ever be in a loot box. So that pretty much wraps it up for this week's episode of On the Topic of. To summarize, we've won the battle, but we haven't won the war. If you enjoyed this episode of On the Topic of, drop me a like down below, and if you happen to be new to the channel, I do upload new stuff throughout the week, so there's always something new right here when you do stop by to watch some videos. But as for right now, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the weekend. I will talk to you on Monday with a drop. Peace.